The private equity portfolio company failure or company death spiral and the 90-day plan of how to escape it. This is how you bounce back from the pressures of failing if you're part of the private equity side of things. Hi, my name is Coach Phil, high performance coach for culture, for organizations, and $250 million worth of bottom line that we have helped companies produce in the last 10 years. Private equity CEOs, this is for you. This one is definitely for you because I've worked with some of you and I know sometimes how it goes. And I'm about to share with you something your private equity partners are quietly discussing in closed doors. Okay. And I know because I've befriended these guys and I've got two or three very close friends, and it's not necessarily good news unless you're doing an amazing job. And if you are, kudos to you and keep it going. If you're not, it's not good news. 68% of private equity portfolios or private equity companies are underperforming. 68%. They're underperforming their growth targets, and that means that the pressure is on. That means that around about 7 out of 10 of you PE CEOs are disappointing the people who have bet on you, who have invested in you. $50 to $500 million of somebody's investment in your success, and you're letting them down. Now, I got to cut you some slack because it's only fair. Because sometimes, you're put in a position that certain things are not very clear for you. By the way, yeah, that is called a pattern interrupt. Okay, but here's what's going on. Here's what's really happening. When these guys come and invest and put money and do what they do best, find a great product, a great company, invest money in, look to turn it around as quick as possible. What they never ever do is prepare you for the pressures of private equity. That's what they don't do well. And I know because I speak to some of these guys. So recently I had a cup of coffee with one of the guys who's he's a private equity guy based up in Bridgeport. Okay. And I had a coffee meetup with this guy, and he's a friend of mine. I'm trying to get to know the guy, and we have had coffee over a while and breakfast, and sometimes we run together. And he's part of a team that manages a $2 billion fund. Okay. This is big stuff. And he's a bit secretive. He won't say everything, but you could clearly tell that there is something going on in these boardrooms where they're thinking, hey, it's just not as good as it should be. So he showed me their internal performance dashboard, okay? And he has it on his phone, and it is, and you could clearly see that in many of their companies where they've invested, there's red everywhere. Red meaning things are not going as well. Okay, and they have invested, like I said, a lot of money. Things are just not going well. He said, hey, listen, Phil, we are beginning to see, or we are seeing a pattern these days, because these CEOs who we get, they're usually very smart, very experienced, they're motivated, but they are drowning in bandwidth. They're drowning in the bandwidth of overload and culture dilution and PE expectations. Now, the moment that we acquire these companies and we install these guys, the performance anxiety goes sideways, in that it is so much. Okay, why? It's a natural thing. If I've invested, I need money. And if you're an inexperienced equity company, you might actually destroy what you're trying to build. But the distractions are galore, and you begin to see, that messy middle period. Talent is leaving, and things go the wrong way. People are retiring much earlier. All the things that can go wrong begin to go wrong. Tell me, does any of the stuff I said sound familiar to you? Just between me and you. Does it at all? Talent leaving, people retiring early, and there's no replacement? Because let me guess. Did your last 3 months of the board meetings look like a little bit terrifying? Where you're always trying to explain why targets were not met this particular month, why we're not hitting our targets, the challenges we're having, what we didn't anticipate, and all the stuff. Does that seem like the real issue? The reality of what you're going through? Does it seem like your key employees are leaving because it's not the same company anymore, and somebody else offered them an extra $5,000, and there's no loyalty anymore, there's no trust anymore? Or are you one of those CEOs, you're working 90-hour weeks? Your marriage is on the rocks, if you have any left, just to keep up with private equity reporting requirements. Why? Because they've invested and your neck is on the block. Or are you in that position where innovation has stopped because everyone's focused on the short-term reportings, the short-term metrics, the short-term this for the private equity partners? Does it sound familiar? Yes? Am I close? Oh, I might not, but if I'm close, you're not alone. You're not alone at all. And I got your back. I feel you. I know. Because I've been there. I have been there, and I know. And look, this isn't necessarily your fault, okay? These private equity firms are great at acquiring great companies and installing great CEOs and creating all the buzz, but they are super terrible at teaching CEOs, okay, especially new CEOs, how to perform under their guidelines, under their unique pressures, under their desires, under their protocol, whatever it is. They're very poor at it. That's why I say it's not your fault. Now, do they care that much? Not really. They obviously make a lot of money from private equity. That's why the industry exists. That's why, it's growing like crazy. That's why they don't just quit just like that. However, it's brutal. It's brutal, man. Every night you go home and you're thinking, damn, are we going to make it? I want to be on your side and say, yes, of course you're going to make it. Okay? Let me tell you a quick story. There's a gentleman, this was Dar es Salaam, of all places, owned, the private equity company was a French company, coincidentally. This guy was called Saif, and he was the CEO of a FMG company, okay, fast moving good company, that got acquired by a top tier private equity firm, okay, 57 million revenue at the time they were acquired, 300 employees, and as you know, when they come in, they want to cut employees and increase revenue naturally, okay. 6 months post acquisition, the books were looking good. That's why they were bought. Now 3 months later, he was in free fall. Everything was falling apart. Why? His focus was taken away from strategy and execution to reporting metrics. Okay, to worrying about what is he going to have to say in that brutal meeting when the private equity client liaison calls him. Okay, monthly recurring revenue had stalled at 3%. It wasn't growing. 3-4 months in, and guys are thinking, what's going on? Okay, his engineering team, the guys who used to hold the different manufacturing plants across the country, were just quitting. They were burned out. They're like, you know what, we can't do it anymore. It's just not working. The older guys were leaving. It just was getting worse and worse. The sales team was missing quarters. Two of his great salespeople were headhunted because they just didn't understand the new growth at all costs kind of situation that the private equity team wanted to mandate this company to do. So Saif was getting panic attacks. He was getting panic attacks before board meetings. Do you understand what that means? Before a board meeting, a super duper CEO who was making things happen is getting panic attacks and is wondering, what am I going to do? How long am I going to sustain this? His family was getting concerned about his well-being. His board liaison to the private equity company partners called me and said, hey, Coach Phil, I need you to fix this or we are going to replace this guy. That's it. You got to help me fix this or we're replacing him. He's good. He's great for the company. He's great for PR. He has all the political connections, but we're going to replace this guy. And sometimes you get called for things and you're thinking, oops, this is going to be hard. But guess what? That's what we're designed to do. So we implemented what we call the Rapid Influence System sprint methodology. Sprint means that you put a system in place that is designed to specifically get private equity portfolio companies quicker results, quicker wins, where failure isn't even considered. It's not an option. It's not an option. And this is where you're working 36, 48 hours non-stop. You are pushing. Everything has got to work. Now, when you implement it, number one, it saves jobs, but it's brutal on mediocrity. Very, very quickly, any person in the mediocrity arena is going to leave. Why? It is designed like that. It's only for the people who are willing to go like, you know what, it's time to go to war. Let us make this happen. Now, this happens in the fourth, usually it is in the fourth sector of, if you look at the rapid influence system, it is in the fourth part of the rapid influence system. However, this is the way it works. Sprint 1, days 1 to 30, pressure relief. Okay, why? Because there's so much pressure, people cannot perform. So identifying the top 3 bottlenecks that are killing performance and removing them with surgical precision, but with SWAT kind of mentality. Bam, get rid of it. Okay, if there's anything in the way, get rid of it immediately. Okay, he had challenges with marketing, he had challenges with procurement. We got rid of them straight away. Sprint number 2, that was days between 31 and 60. Okay, this was momentum building. Now that we've got momentum, there's no bottlenecks. The systems, you guys know the deal. The systems come in to create, number 1, seamless sales. Number 2, seamless client acquisition. Number 3, product or offer refinement, so that the community can still see their product as the best product. And then, of course, the ability to deliver the product on time, every time, at the highest quality. When that system was in place and was working like clockwork, bingo, we go to sprint number 3. This is usually day 60 to day 90. This is the domination proofing. This is where we demonstrate how do we outperform what has happened before. This is where the ideas vault. We have an ideas vault methodology where it is execution time 24/7. But most importantly, execution goes from, if it was taking 14 days, we ask how can we do it in 7. If it was taking 20 days, how can we do it in 10 and or 5? This makes sure that you reduce the ability to produce great things by almost half the time. And when that happens, beautiful things begin to happen. The bottom line begins to smile. Most importantly, pressure release. Now this is what happened to Saif. Okay, number 1, when we began to do that, by day 30, his MRR, okay, monthly recurring revenue, it jumped from 3% to 8%. That was a win. And that was real relief, okay? He could sleep for a start, okay? Day 60, employee engagement improved, okay? Scores went to 35 or 36, I think, okay? And this we know because we don't do your normal surveys. No, they are anonymous surveys that have client feedback at the back of it. So we don't just ask your team, but we ask clients, we ask the community. Therefore, we have a holistic feedback to know exactly how people feel, because how they feel determines how they treat the community. And then, of course, day 90, they hit their first quarterly target. And people were speaking French like it was the best thing on the planet, okay? In 8 months, they hit their target. Everybody was happy. And now everybody wants to come and learn, how the hell did you guys do it? And as usual, get the formula and go and replicate it everywhere. Now Saif becomes the consultant for this company because he now knows what we taught him, and he can now go and duplicate it elsewhere. And that is the crazy part sometimes. When you, rather than tell people what to do, you inspire them to come up with stuff and they implement. It's usually an amazing thing when they begin to put their own flavor on it and then go and put it somewhere and it works. That's the beauty of what we do. And that's what happened for Saif. He was then got in and said, hey, you got to go and help us down in Zambia. And then you got to go, there's a challenge we have in Cameroon. And then, oh, you got to go to Paris and talk to the team there of how you have done it. Now imagine, he went from having his head on the chopping block to being the success story that I'm telling you about, where now they're like, hey boss, you got to come and talk to us about that. Why did that happen? Rapid influence system with a leader whose mindset was failure was not an option. So here's my question to you now. Are you currently explaining poor performance to the board often, where you have to explain to your private equity partners and owners how things are going to get better and how you are recruiting the right team and how, things will get better, but they got to give you time? Are you in that position? Or are you showing them results that want them to increase their investment, where they're excited about working with you, where they want to give you more money because they see, hey, this guy is doing something amazing? Most of it is from a rapid influence system that creates a high performance culture that has got A players who execute at the highest level. They love what they do, but most importantly, they love dominance. We engineer dominance. We do not do mediocre stuff. No, because the massive difference between surviving private equity ownership and thriving under it is results. Nothing else. Now, if you can be the kind of person who produces the results quicker, faster, and enjoy the process, Bob's your uncle. So, quick question for you, my friend. What if your next board meeting showcased your wins instead of explaining how things, or instead of your excuses? Supposing it was just about, hey, we're winning here, we're doing this, we're acquiring this, we have made this, we have improved this, and most importantly, the finances are looking good. What if your private equity partners started using you as their gold standard, as their success case study, as the person they go to understand the market, to understand how they can improve? Supposing that is you, how would that be? What if, just what if, exit conversations with some people who are living are focused on maximum value, maximum valuation instead of damage? Just think about it, where people are living not because they want to, but because of everything else other than damage control. What if you're the kind of person where you're a role model and they look up to you in times of crisis, in terms of turning things around, in terms of looking for that Polaris star that is going to rescue them? because that's exactly what happened to David. Okay, I'll tell you about David here quickly. Okay, David was a CMO of another manufacturing company. Based, they had their offices in their headquarters in Dubai, but they were based all over the place. Okay, now they were acquired by a private equity company at about 9 times EBITDA, I think. Yeah, it was about 9 times EBITDA. Okay, now the acquiring company specifically mentioned that their exceptional leadership, execution, and market dominance or market leadership was the key drivers of the premium valuation that they gave, the premium valuation for which they paid that amount of money. What made David different? Execution, high performance, leadership. Now, if you're ready to escape the portfolio nightmare, the portfolio company death of private equity pressures, I have an invitation for you. Text me today. Let us become another success story together. Text me today, 860-656-4474, based in Connecticut. Call me, text me. Text me the word bold, and let's make something happen. Or if you're that kind of person who wants to take action immediately, there is a link somewhere in this video. Guess what? Click on that link. It will give you a link that you can share with your leadership team, that will give you a brutal culture audit that will show you exactly how your people feel. And from there, you'll be able to know how well you're doing and where your biggest challenges are. But this is only if you are willing to perform at the level your valuation demands. If you're not willing to be at that level, please do not attempt, because it's not going to work for you. So as usual, my name is the good old Coach Phil. I am here to stop you from disappointing your believers, disappointing your board, disappointing your partners, and start exceeding their wildest expectations by engineering dominance, because I know that you have the audacity to make things happen, because I believe in you. Until next time, peace.